Welcome once again, beautiful people, to the Soul Ashraya podcast, a weekly podcast where we study the sweet words of our dear Lord Krishna and we meditate upon them with prayer and delight. With me, as always, is my good friend Balaram Shakti Das and teacher. I am Bhakta Jake. Welcome to the show once again. Balaram, you're looking good today, dude.
Thanks, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for watching us. We are going to be reading out of the Krishna book as we always do. We are in chapter 2 at the moment right now. Balaram, did you want to go over anything before we get into today's text? I did want to read that one paragraph on page 21 that I talked about real quick.
Sure. Sorry.
That's
No.
okay.
It's
Okay.
like, all right. No, yeah, I think that would be good. There's kind of a lot going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, this chapter is going to cover a lot of, it's just like a really complicated sort of thing. Even now, like there's some of the details, I'm just like, wait a minute, how, like it takes a long time and a lot of iterations of hearing it to really kind of get, because it's not just like a simple, Krishna was appeared to these parents and then, he started his life. It's like there's a lot going on. There's like babies switching wombs, uh, and then there's this Yogamaya personality. So do you want to put the screen share up real quick?
Yeah, actually, let me do that.
Yeah, so this paragraph is saying Yogamaya is the principal potency of the personality of Godhead. And it's quoting the Vedas, Parasya Shaktir Vividaiva Shruyate. Trying to think if I know that verse. Maybe you could, well, if you want to copy paste it, or even if Rebecca, you want to look that up.
Oh.
But I know I've heard it before, and it's describing how Krishna, the personality of Godhead, is the possessor of all Shaktis, all potencies. And that these potencies are acting externally and internally. So externally is material energies, internally are the spiritual energies, and Yogamaya is the chief of all potencies. So it's okay. So here's an idea to help make sense of this, hopefully, that you have Krishna and you have Krishna's energies. In one sense, it's all Krishna, like everything is Krishna. I think, didn't George Harrison say that, right, in the very beginning? That in one sense, Krishna is everything, but in another sense, there's Krishna and then there's everything else, right? It's simultaneously one with Krishna and distinct from Krishna, because it's like Krishna is the person. And so it's like you have the CEO of a company, right? In one sense, the whole company, that's all his energy. That's like him. You go into a establishment and you're kind of like picking up on the person's energy. Like my cousin in Syracuse, actually, he's got his own bar arcade place, and he's like totally invested his energy into it. Like you can pick up on his personality just by walking in there. So in one sense, it's like, oh, this is John. This is him. You can't say that it's not him, or in this at the same time, uh, he is a distinct person. He has his own personality, and you can totally separate that thing from him, and he's still there. So, uh, so in spiritual perspective, spiritual reality, all of these energies are persons. They have personifications. Why? Because Krishna is interacting with all of them, and we as persons eternally, right, our constitution as soul is a person. Like you are a person, and so the way that we interact essentially is through personhood. We also interact in impersonal ways as well, and generally that's carried out with the external energy, sort of like when you're not totally in yourself, you're not fully you're acting in impersonal ways. It's like you're not fully there. It's like you ever do that, you do something, um for some reason, example coming to me is like driving on the road, you're not really paying attention, or maybe you're talking to someone else and you do something, it's like, well, like you totally spaced out there. um
Happens
Better,
all the time, all the time.
yeah, or like you're with a person and you do something and you're just like, why did I do that,
I usually
I'm
just close
sorry.
my eyes when I'm driving down the
I
road. Just, hey, whatever happens, happens. I don't know.
Okay. But it's like, oh, like
Or
you
like
got
when
a
I'm
little
trying to put my
impersonal.
makeup on in the morning, like on my way to work. I mean, dude,
You also do
driving
that?
is such a pain when you're like trying to get your makeup on. I totally, totally get it. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. No judgment.
It
So,
happens. It's scary, but it happens. Like,
yeah. Well, this is what's scary, is this whole material world we're doing this. You know, we're we're putting our makeup on while feigning activity in the material world. I don't know if feigning is the right word, but we're active in this world, but we're not there. We're not present with what we're actually doing, right? And this is called karma. In a sense, you're doing things, but you're under some spell. Ahankara vimudatma, kartaham iti manyate. So this kartaham means like manyate, I'm thinking that I'm the doer. I'm acting karta, right? And ahankara vimudatma, you're bewildered, you're under this spell of ahankar, of false ego, because you're acting impersonally. So when we get out of our personhood, which is spiritual energy, and we get kind of caught up in the material energy, what happens is we get bound by this ahankar. And so we're acting impersonally. And it's really scary because it's exactly like, distracted driving. You could be affecting so many other beings in such a negative, dangerous way, right? But you don't even know. You have become bad sangha. You've become bad company, right? But you're not even conscious. Why? Because you're not fully in yourself. So so here's the point, coming back to the point. When we enter back into our personhood, when we're like fully there, you can actually interact with the person, you know, like other drivers can like indicate to you, I want to enter this lane, and you can respond, you can let up a little, let them in, so
just,
forth.
just lay on the
It's
floor.
a crude, it's a loose
Yeah.
example, but we can understand this, right? Like when Jake is like fully there on the podcast, I can say, hey Jake, and he's not like somewhere in La La Land. Like,
Oh, hey, when did you
yeah.
get here?
When did you? So here's the point. is that
Uh,
Krishna is always personal. Krishna never becomes impersonal. This is always good to remember, because we might think, oh, maybe Krishna just doesn't care about me. No, when you're fully present, that means necessarily that you fully care about all the people that you're with.
mm,
If you didn't, it means you're somewhere else. You're not there, because the reality is that we love everyone. That's actually the underlying truth of our being. So when we're fully there, we're we're in that mode. And so Krishna is always in that mode, pure goodness, spiritual consciousness. And so all of his energies he's interacting with on a level of persons. It's not so I don't know if this whole example is helpful. He's never acting with them impersonally. He's never like, I'm going to drive the car, but I'm going to be somewhere else doing something else with you and not really be there with you. I'm not actually going to be present on the street. I'm going to, you know, no. So there's Krishna and then all of his energies. So Krishna is interacting with his energies as persons.
yeah.
So he converses with them. And sometimes the acharyas, the great spiritual masters, who understand the mind of God to some degree, right? They explain to us this is what's going on inside God's mind, is he's directing his energies. And so it's Yogamaya. Why is Yogamaya the principle? Because Krishna is the supreme Godhead. He's the supreme controller, right? And how does he control everything's acting under his will, right? He doesn't have to act on his will. He simply wills and his energies act automatically, right? Whereas if we want something to happen, you're just like, I want this to happen. It's like, it doesn't happen like that, right? You have to actually act, right? Whereas with Krishna, no. So Krishna's energies are acting by his will, under his will. And so the principal energy that is carrying out his will is called Yogamaya.
Mm.
And that's the spiritual energy. And then there's Mahamaya, which is when that um, when that will, when that yeah, principle, when that potency enters the material realm, it becomes Mahamaya. Basically, it's spiritual potency and the material potency. And these are feminine energies, right? Energy is generally feminine, whereas the energetic is masculine, in relation. So we were talking about this last week, actually, really nice point. I don't know if I remember the context, but we're talking about, Durga, who is basically personification of Mahamaya, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Durga.
yeah, the goddess of material energy. Yeah, or just Maya personified. So Mahamaya, Maya.
I thought that was a totally separate entity. Like Durga was like a goddess, kind of
Yeah,
like Ali,
yeah. Um,
but not
Kali also. Yeah, Kali and Durga are, I think, the same personality.
it, when we get into like this, like that far into it, I'm like, oh my goodness, it's like I feel like that now you're starting to kind of go to the border of like Krishna consciousness where, and I'm just not there at that point. I'm trying to learn about Krishna and who he is. And it seems like
Yeah,
there's a lot of connecting things.
yeah.
And
Well, yeah,
it's
this is a very good connecting thing to understand, because Durga, Kali, Maya, this feminine goddess of material energy, is the principal of our interaction with Krishna's energies without consciousness of Krishna. So when we're looking out into the world, meaning looking out, meaning external energy of God, not his internal energy. In one sense, again, everything is Krishna. So you can't separate his energies from him. It's like you're looking at Krishna. You're looking at one of Krishna's energies. It's like if you take my hand, like the hand, it's like, that's not me. If you sever my hands, it will be just a lump of material energy, whereas I'm still here, But if you can't look at my hand and say that's not me, because, in a sense, this body, that's representative of me, right? So it's like you're looking at one of my energies here. You're looking at me. It's the same. So, but the point is that when you look at my hand, it's not that you're thinking this is Balaram. It's you understand the connection with me. Likewise, when you look at Krishna's energies, if you understand the connection with Krishna, then you see Krishna. But if you don't understand the connection with Krishna, then you see Maya.
Okay.
Right? Maya means that which is not.
Right. Okay. So what about in the Adams family when there was just like a hand running around that was just a hand? Was that what? Oh, that was something else? Oh, okay. Did you ever see that movie? There's like a hand.
Right.
I didn't even know like what the name of it was, just like the hand would run around,
Right.
like do chores, Oh, hey, I made lunch. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to stay on course. I really am. I know you just made a really good point, and I didn't.
At the risk of derailing the whole thing, let's just throw this in there. Okay.
So just to read.
Okay. So you're looking at material energy.
Okay.
You don't understand the relationship with Krishna, and therefore you're looking at Maya.
Okay.
And so one of the ways that Maya personifies herself is Durga, who holds a trident, and the trident represents the three types of miseries that we experience: those of our body and mind, those of other living entities, and those of natural causes, higher forces, that we don't have control of. So this is how we're interacting with God right now, is we're interacting with Durga. Durga means prison. So she's like the superintendent of the prison. So why are we in a prison? Because we've chosen to have an experience of separate existence from God. We want to know what life is like without God in the picture, and it's not necessarily an evil thing. It's just as natural as, teenagers wanting to experience some independence. But then they eventually, if they mature, when we mature, it's that no, we can't, we don't have that kind of potency. God has that potency. We're infinitesimal. We need to take shelter of a higher potency. It means we need to cooperate with other living entities. We need to cooperate with our parents, sort of thing. So the prison superintendent is acting under Krishna's will. Again, Yogamaya is the principal potency that carries out Lord's will. Mahamaya is that potency in the material atmosphere. When we are misbehaving, delinquent souls need to go through a reformatory process. So Durga is the one who makes sure that, we get kept in line, sort of thing. But okay, yeah. So this is the point we were discussing, was that because right now this is how we're interacting with God. This is like energy is the interface with the energetic, right? The way that we understand the sun is through sunlight. That's our interface with it. So the way that we're interfacing with Krishna right now is Maya, is like unconsciousness of Krishna. We're just experiencing indirectly his energies, right? But when we become Krishna conscious, when we understand Krishna, when we start seeing everything in relation with Krishna, Durga, Mahamaya, becomes for us Yogamaya. In the ultimate sense, becomes for us Radharani. who is the source of all these feminine goddesses, these energies of Krishna that all emanate from Radharani. So, eventually we're not going to be looking at the face of Durga, right? Which is what happens. You might think that you're doing okay in this world without God, but eventually Maya, Durga, is going to rear her ferocious face at you, and you will be afraid. That's what fear is. Fear is not understanding things in connection with Krishna. So, I can't help but think of Yoda's line, and Luke's like, I'm not afraid. He's like, you will be. Yes, you will be. So anyway.
So I love what you were saying about that so much. About that made
Yeah, we'll lose that fear because the
hit
real
home,
goddess will be there.
about what you were saying about how we're in a prison, like this. We are in a prison. We just don't know it. And when you are young, it's like you think that you're going to live forever, which I guess is like part of the illusion that everybody is under by Maya anyway, you know. So there's this illusionary energy that no one can escape. So when you're young, you think you're going to live forever, and you fantasize all these things, like, oh, okay, so this is my reality. Like, I go out and, you want to be like a rock star or something like that, like 1% of the people that ever play guitar become like successful in music, except for in your mind, you're always thinking, okay, I'm going to make it one day. I'm going to do it one day. I'm going to make it one day. And yet you never do. And you just kind of fool yourself. But that's also Maya's external energy working on your brain too. Is that correct? Right? That's what you're saying, right?
Working on your brain, how?
Like making you think that you're gonna make it, like making you feel
yeah,
like, like, oh well, I'm a really good singer. I'm gonna be the next Axl Rose,
yeah.
and like, I mean, I'm just using examples that I can relate to, you know. I you know So that's yoga maya. Yoga Maya is that external energy that's always working on everybody all the time, that makes us think that we have it all together in our own minds, and yet we don't.
Mahamaya.
Out of touch with God completely.
Yeah, yeah. That's my and this Maya has two functions, which we described one already. That's the trident, like the punishing.
Right. Okay.
There's the kicking and the covering. So, or the throwing is another way of describing. Kicking, so one duty of hers is to inflict us with misery. But the covering, is covering over our real identity. And instead, we then, ahankara vimuratma, we become bewildered by a false sense of identity. So this, I'm going to be this. And in that way, she lures us in, come on, just, come with me. I'll make you a star.
Mm.
Right.
So
That's like like when you see, I'm reminded of this cover of Newfound Glory. I don't know if you'd remember. I don't even remember the name of the album, but it was like this kind of creepy scene of like a kid, like a young musician, and he gets led into this little like shack that said like superstar on it or something. And on the other end, he becomes, he's like totally transformed. Right. But the figure that's like inviting him in is like super ominous looking. And it's just like like that's like that right there, that image, that's just like the
was the
epitome of
devil?
Maya.
Was the
Like,
devil?
I'll make you a star, all you have to do is just give me your soul.
Um,
But you don't need that anyway.
I'll just give you a quick little story here. So last year, when I was brand new into Krishna consciousness, relatively brand new still. Um, I was telling people, yeah, there, it's like there's this Maya, and Maya is just, it's this illusionary life that we're living, and it's not real, and people were like, oh, okay, so Maya, that's like the devil to you now, right? This Maya, is that the devil to you? And I was like, I don't know. But I mean, it's you have to like get out of that paradigm of like good and evil and actually take responsibility for your own actions, and that's called karma. And that's where we're at. That's the reality. That's Krishna consciousness, is is having that I'm in this position because I put myself in this position because of
Yes.
lifetimes of living. There's
Yeah.
no like guy with a pitchfork and a bifurcated tail who's in red
Well,
pajamas.
there is.
Oh, there. Oh, okay.
But no, there very well may be. Um, but the point is like the dualists, meaning fundamentalists, um, religionists, monotheists, they think that there's God and there's a devil and they are eternally separate entities, right? And so there is a perpetual battle between them. That's not actually God. God means everything. He's the possessor of all energies, right? Parasya Shakti Vividavashrite. Uh, so yeah, your point of our personal responsibility, that is the clincher. Um, it's not that the devil is there and he, influenced us and God is trying to fight him and, we need to just totally remove ourselves um, from this wicked world. No, it's we have to understand our relationship with everything, including these, seemingly sinister energies, and return to spiritual consciousness vis-a-vis no longer making choices that bring us into association with our inner devil, our propensity as a individual spirit soul to act whimsically, to act independently from God's mercy, God's grace. So we need to like uproot that within ourselves, because that like inner shadow, if you will always be there, ready for us, to render it service,
Yeah.
which is self-service. And that's basically Satanism, is you're serving yourself. Yeah, we also had a really deep conversation about this Thursday night. That's a bit out of our scope, I think, here, but
Yeah. Yeah.
um
We
it
haven't.
would be fascinating to talk about. Anyway, I'm gonna put that one on the side burner.
Yeah.
Did that yeah, so yeah, okay. It's in a sense it is like kind of the same sort of thing, but yeah, you kind of have to unlearn a lot of that in order to understand this, because it's much more scientific. It's not just like a fundamentalist
Yeah.
um dogma of like this is evil, this
Yeah.
is good. It's like no, God is all good, all of his energies are good, and this yoga or this Mahamaya, just like Yogamaya, it's the same in the sense of acting under Krishna's will, which is to bring us back to his loving devotional service, the spiritual world. Everything is acting for that ultimate end. And once we understand that and cooperate with that, then we'll see it as the original goddess, who is certainly all good, you know. Um, what was the other thing?
That was a major buy-in from me. What was having that concept? How how I got that concept, I have no idea, but I just felt like, okay, this makes sense. This is far more logical than like this war between God and the devil, like constantly happening, you know? And it's just I'm gonna be careful about what I say because, you know, I was absolutely totally there until not too long ago. So there's so much propaganda to propagandize the devil, like the devil's everywhere, the devil's everywhere. You know, it's like, dude, the devil's everywhere. God is everywhere. You have to look at the world like God is everywhere, you know? Like, yeah, sure, anything could happen at any given moment, but that's God's energy all the time. And I love the boldness of the Krishna conscious people. I love how they are just not afraid to come out and say that this is God, this is why we love him, and we love him so much. And we like they want to show the world how much they love God. I have I am really that I'm not seeing that with like other denominations. Not seeing
Yeah.
that energy of of the Sankirtan movement is like going out in the streets and chanting the holy names, you know. I'm not seeing that other places. So that was like a major buy-in for me. It was. I'm serious.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, one thing I was going to ask you again was okay, so Durga's got the trident, but she's also riding on a lion or a tiger.
Tiger.
A tiger. Is it a white tiger?
I haven't taken her darshan quite a while. I don't remember.
I don't know either. I feel like in pictures and like the old pictures that you see, it's like a white
Yeah,
tiger or something. I was
maybe.
just wondering if there was some meaning to that too.
There
I
probably definitely is, but I wouldn't know it.
don't know either.
Yeah, it's like, you can get really caught up in these things,
Yeah,
these details of the demigods, which we don't encourage.
yeah,
We
absolutely.
just encourage you to understand the principles.
Yeah,
What is the essence of this? The essence is that Maya is a servant of Krishna, and she's very good at what she does.
mm,
Right? And that was the point I was trying to get to is, you know, the reformatory, it's not evil. It's acting under God's will, which is to bring you back. So it's all for good. It's serving God, actually. So if we can see that, you know, it's not something to be feared, but it's most definitely something to be like respected.
yeah,
Um, like, I recognize what you're doing. I
yeah,
recognize, prey to that, victim to that. So I'm offering you my pranams and asking that you please help me to develop love for Krishna. That's our relationship with all the demigods, is that, please help me develop pure bhakti, because we understand that they're servants of Krishna, and therefore their ultimate purpose is to get us out of material energy back with Krishna.
yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's our goal. I guess that's our goal too, right? Is to get back to Godhead, right? Yeah. Hmm.
Okay,
Yeah,
shall we dive in?
we shall.
We didn't chant our invocations. We should do that.
I know we just went for it. We just got right into it. I
Okay.
know. Let's do that real quick because we just need to do that.
Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Yeah. Okay, so where I have marked here where we left off at the bottom paragraph on page 21, where it says, "Since you will appear as my contemporary."
Yes.
I'm going to bring up the text again real quick.
Yeah, bring that up and then I'll real quick summarize previous paragraph. So Krishna is saying, you know, that Devaki and Vasudeva are here under imprisonment of Kamsa and Mathura, and currently a plenary expansion Shesha, which is an expansion of Balaram, is within the womb of Devaki. So he wants Yogamaya. So his will is starting to unravel, and he's having Yogamaya kind of start, putting the pieces in place. So the first step is we need Shesha in Vrindavan, in the womb of Rohini, and then he is going to appear. So Shesha, that's the seventh pregnancy. Yeah. That's the seventh pregnancy of Devaki, and then Krishna is going to come in.
So he's coming on the 7th or the 8th?
He's coming in on the 8th, right on schedule. And then he wants her to appear in the womb of Yashoda in Vrindavan. So you've got, on one side, you've got Mathura, you've got Devaki. On the other side, in Vrindavan, you have Rohini and Yashoda. So Shesha is going to go in Rohini's womb, who is a wife of Vasudeva. And then Yogamaya is going to enter the womb of Yashoda.
That's going to do one of these, right? Okay, cool. Got it.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I say at work every morning. They tell me what to do, even if I don't know it. Sure thing, boss. You got it.
Okay. Well, yeah, this will come back around.
Okay.
Because then Krishna is going to do another switcheroo with Yogamaya once they appear. And then Kamsa is going to be all bewildered. So yeah. Okay.
Already.
With me? All right, let's do it. Since you will appear as my contemporary sister, and since you will quickly satisfy desires for sense gratification, people within the world will worship you with all kinds of valuable presentations. Incense, candles, flowers, and offerings of sacrifice. Does that sound familiar? Any of our Wiccan friends out there, maybe? Yeah, they're worshiping the goddess, right? Goddess worshippers. So Krishna is saying, this is what's going to happen in Kali Yuga. People are going to worship you in this way. Yeah. People who are after materialistic perfection will worship you under the different forms of your expansions, which will be named Durga, right? We mentioned this earlier. Bhadrakali, Vijaya, Vaishnavi, Kumuda, Chandika, Krishna, Madhavi, Kanyaka, Maya, Narayani, Ishani, Sharada, and Ambika. Interesting. Krishna and Yogamaya appeared as brother and sister, the supreme powerful and the supreme power. Although there is no clear distinction between the powerful and the power, right, energetic and the energy, power is always subordinate to the powerful. Those who are materialistic are worshippers of the power, but those who are transcendentalists are worshippers of the powerful. Krishna is the supreme powerful, and Durga is the supreme power within the material world. Actually, people in the Vedic culture worship both the powerful and the power. There are many hundreds and thousands of temples of Vishnu and Devi, the goddess, right? And sometimes they are worshipped simultaneously. The worshiper of the power, Durga, or the external energy of Krishna, may achieve all kinds of material success very easily, but anyone who wants to be elevated transcendentally must engage in worshiping the powerful in Krishna consciousness. So, is this making sense in the context of
Yeah.
our discussion?
Yeah, everything we just talked about.
All right there.
Yeah.
So again, there's the energy and there's the energetic. There's the goddess and then there's God. So our culture is to worship them together, to worship the feminine and masculine Godhead together. Whereas materialists get wrapped up. That's reality, right? That's actually the spiritual reality. Whereas materialism means you're getting caught up in God's energy, right? And that brings you down into the material atmosphere. And it might seem, like, I've had my fair share of experience with the whole Wiccan, goddess,
Oh,
even like
really?
Gaia stuff.
Oh,
They're
really?
worshiping the earth or various derivatives of Durga.
Well, you
Right?
dip
All of
your
these, like we may
toe.
not. What's that?
You dip your toe in a little Wicca, did you?
A little,
Just a toe, maybe a foot.
maybe a foot.
Are you serious though? You got into that?
Yeah, yeah. You hang around the New Age crowd, and that's what it all is. The New Age crowd, they don't have a conception of God because they're kind of rejecting the patriarchal, religion
Okay.
of just Father God. It's like, well, what about the mother? So why don't we just only focus on the mother? So, okay, well, that's still not right. You need both. So we may not recognize many of these names, but these are the Sanskrit names all around the world. Though there's, you know, all of these different, different paths, different cultures,
Yeah.
all focused on the energy, and they get it. Like they can manifest stuff. They become powerful in a sense. Not actually powerful, because the supreme powerful is the Lord and his will is absolute. Whereas us, it's, and I'm reminded, I was thinking, when you were talking about, the stardom, I was listening to Kustuba and Raghunath the other day, and how it's totally karmic. Like you get signed, even if you're like super incredible musician, whatever, you get signed and then nothing happens, right? Whereas there's people that just have like nothing, and then they just get launched into superstardom, right? Like it's like there's no direct like correlations there. It seems like totally random. So what it is, it's karma. It's the only way to explain it, is like you didn't have the karma to be a superstar. Whereas some people, even if they weren't like anything special before they got signed, like they had that karma. So nothing is independent of karma.
Actually, they sign a deal with their own blood with the devil. That's yeah. I
Then
mean,
there's that.
but I mean,
And but that's like the ultimate issue.
when you hear some of the stuff on the radio, you have to kind of wonder about that. You're like,
Oh, really? Yeah.
how is this person selling millions and millions and millions of albums? How is this possible?
There's,
I'm not gonna name any names.
yeah, there's a
You know what
whole
I'm saying.
topic that I don't think we should get into here.
Have you heard this country hip hop? Like, do they listen to that in Arizona?
I don't ever,
Apparently,
the only time I hear the radio is when I go into like Fry's, some grocery store.
there's this country. It's country. It is literally country music and hip hop, and it is becoming like the latest greatest thing.
I
Yeah,
bet.
I know, and it's horrible.
That sounds horrible.
Terrible.
Two terrible things.
I know. I actually do like country music, like real country, 60s country.
No, there's a whole thing of like, Satanism and demonic things that few devotees here have been, have seen certain celebrities in our country are openly worshiping, the devil
Yes.
and doing certain rituals that involve blood. I'll just say that. And so the allurement is there. And this is the thing. Any one of us, if we were given the opportunity, would do the same thing. This is the nature of the jiva. We really have to understand that without God in our life, we are powerless to the allurement of Durga.
I must agree with that statement 100%. So that reminds me, I don't know if we made the exact connection between Durga and Kali, but a little fact came up. Apparently, you're familiar with the Rolling Stones?
Yeah.
The band, the Rolling Stones?
Right.
Okay. So their icon, like their logo, is that tongue.
Oh, that
is the disemboweled tongue of Kali.
Wow.
That is literally the inspiration.
That makes sense.
That was their inspiration, but they had to
Oh,
make
man.
it like fun and marketable.
Yeah. Otherwise,
like yeah, But that is literally their inspiration for that thing, and they loved it because they were all about like total chaos, basically. Like back in the day, you know, in the summer of love.
quick power.
Yeah.
There's a verse in the Gita that echoes the words of Yoda, which is not surprising, one of our acharyas. That basically, like, the dark side is quick to come to your aid, right? Remember when he's instructing Luke and that?
Yeah.
Right? I don't know if it's the same time he explains the path of the dark side, which is straight out of second chapter, verse 263. But there's another section where like it would take me a couple minutes to find it. I want to say seventh chapter. The worshippers of the demigods, basically, and as in Yoda's terms, like those who take to the dark side, like that kind of power is very quick to come to your aid. Right? Whereas path of light, it's a very slow cultivation, but it's real power in the sense that it's not going to leave you. It's not like the wind that it's like quick to come to you, but then it's gone. It's not real because it's not yours. Whereas like the real practitioners, they're cultivating strength through long practice. They earn it, right? That's kind of the key terms. They earn it. Yeah. So as Prabhupada's saying here, or as Krishna is saying here, the worshiper of the power Durga or the external energy of Krishna may achieve all kinds of material success very easily. But anyone who wants to be elevated transcendentally must engage in worshiping the powerful in Krishna consciousness. So like the real like Jedi, like the real yogi is, what does he cultivate? Because he understands it's like, if I just worship the energy, if I go down that path, the dark side of accruing power, it may come to me very quickly, but it's a trap. Durga is a prison. You get imprisoned by your mind, by your lust, your greed. You get consumed by hatred. Whereas if I recognize the force, right, that there's something interconnecting everyone, and then I'm meant to be a servant, an instrument of the good. And what does that mean? Because George Lucas wasn't exposing God, the personality of Godhead, right, directly. This book, everything that we're doing here is saying the actual thing is recognition of the Godhead. So, okay, so I wanted to bring it back to this example of like, my cousin has a shop, has a restaurant, establishment. If you were to go in there, any establishment, and you're just into the energy there, and you're like, wow, cool vibes. Depending on your karma, you could have various facilities there, right? If you don't have any karma there, like you have to pay, you know, maybe you strike it off with the bartender, you get a little relationship, they give you a little discount here and there, right? And you think, wow, I really made it, you know. And then it's like, oh, like we have a special on Tuesdays, just so have, or it's your birthday, right? Maybe it's your birthday, you walk in, you get like free shots or something. But if you develop a relationship with the owner, like I can walk in there any day of the year and I don't have to pay for anything because I'm his cousin, we're like brothers. So it's, I have a
If you're my
relationship with
cousin,
the
I'd make
owner.
you pay twice as much for everything.
Was Jake Wilson. Who is this guy? So it's a
I guess
crude
they
example.
let anybody in here.
It's a crude example.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. But the point is, you're trying to, maybe I might be, overbeating this to death here, but
No, not at all.
we need to really get this deep in our
Yes.
brains that we're trying to have a relationship independently with the energy. It's like going to someone's house, going to a couple's house, husband and wife are there, and you start talking up the wife if you're a guy, right? Opposite for ladies. You start talking up the spouse of the opposite gender to you, and their spouse is like, excuse me, like this person is, how do you, like, she's married.
Yeah.
To me, like I'm standing right here and you're ignoring. So it's, again, you're impersonal. You're being impersonal. Being personal, but you acknowledge both. And in real civilization, it's like the man, interacts directly with the husband and more indirectly with the wife. As a matter of course, that's in formal settings. When it's informal, it's, you're not thinking in terms of gender, but you have to. So this is how we approach God very formally at first. Lakshmi Narayan, we're worshiping Krishna as God because we need to kind of, break out of those impersonal, dangerous tendencies to exploit Devi, right? So we really focus on worshiping Vishnu, right? Narayan, Krishna as God, and then that Devi becomes Radha when we become a pure devotee. And then it's very, very wonderful. It's very sweet, very personal and informal, right? Yeah. So yeah, you can't just go into someone's house and talk up the wife, try to exploit, because that's you're exploiting. And that's what we're doing in this world, is we're exploiting the goddess. This is happening in every sphere of life. You're exploiting the goddess, like people that are into Gaia, like they understand this, but they don't understand you can't have Lakshmi independently of Vishnu. You can't have the goddess.
Oh, they know that?
Because what is serving, like ultimately we're trying to serve, right? If you're just interacting with her like, oh goddess, please give me energy, you're just exploiting. Because what is the goddess there for? She is the servant of Vishnu. She's teaching us how to serve Vishnu. So if you really want to associate with her properly, you will worship the Godhead, the masculine principle, because that's the principle to which we serve, for which we're engaging in service. And the feminine energies are meant to be engaged in service. If you just have them on their own, you don't have a concept of God, the masculine God principle, then you're necessarily going to be exploiting. So developing a relationship with the husband, with Lakshmi's, with Devi's husband, that's service. Then you're actually an instrument. Then Devi will give you everything that you need under his will, because Krishna is saying, look, this is my servant. You provide for him. And she's like, yes, sir.
Mm,
Right.
mm. Wow. So they actually know that in, what is it, Gaia, Wicca, pagan?
They don't know any of
Oh,
this.
oh, they don't. Oh, okay, okay. I thought
They
they
don't
had
know any of this.
like a.
It's ignorance.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, okay, right. It's like
If they did, if you knew who Vishnu was,
yeah,
you would become a Vaishnav.
yeah. I
You know,
thought maybe they had an idea of what it was and just were like, oh, that maybe they thought that that was like a cultural interpretation of something that
yeah,
they
maybe.
worshipped. But I don't know anything about that anyway, really.
Yeah.
Um, Wicca. This isn't a
Yeah,
Wicca.
it's not a gender thing.
I
This
feel
is
like I'm in myself in a corner. Let's move on.
yeah.
Let's go back to talking about Yoda and Star Wars and how it was basically on the betas. Let's talk about things we know about. Like I always saw these Wicca people like here and there, and they were like just intertwined with the metal scene. Like every
Hmm.
time you go to a metal show, that like there's like uh, everyone's wearing a pentagram. Like you go to any
Oh, yeah.
metal show, and everyone they got like 10 pentagrams on. Like I need a pentagram in both ears, everywhere. Like so and then I knew that was kind of intertwined into the Wicca thing and everything, but I don't know. That's territory that I simply don't know anything about, except for I used to be a big time metalhead, and now I'm not really a metalhead anymore. So even though I still have an
Yeah.
awesome record collection that I might just give away, I don't know, because I've lost the taste for material things and for going to shows. I will probably never go to another metal show as long as I live. And that's okay. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm okay with
It's mode of ignorance.
it. Yeah, I
It's
mean,
totally the mode of ignorance.
yeah.
Yeah,
And it,
what's that?
and it costs too much.
It
Concerts
costs-
now are ridiculous. I saw that, I mean, they're not really a metal band, but like, I guess like Red Hot Chili Peppers would be as big as Metallica, maybe in some circles, equal. It was like literally $100 to go see them in Syracuse. I was like, what happened to paying like 20, $30 to go to a concert? Those days are gone. Those days are gone. I guess you would pay that much to see a band in a club, like in a small club, like at Water Street or something like that. It's going to be like 20 or $30. Anyway, I'm so
yeah.
sorry.
No,
Where am
it's
I?
that's the you haven't gone. It's that's the mode of ignorance.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So, paying exorbitant
Yes.
fees, it's all ignorance of our relationship with God. If we understood our relationship with Krishna, everyone would cooperate very wonderfully, because that's the principle of service. He is the one who enlightens you how to serve. Dami Buddhi Yogam Tam, right? Nothing else is going to give you that. It's all just concoctions. If you're just sticking with the goddess, or meaning God's energies, you're working with God's energies um, in ignorance of God Himself. It's all the same. It might be dressed up in different modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance, but it's all ignorance. Whether you're straight out atheistic, you just flat out, or you pretend to be very spiritual. If you don't understand the principle of the Godhead, you aren't able to serve with those energies. I was talking with someone at the temple about Kundalini yoga,
Wow.
and she's like, "Yeah, so wonderfully, like all like that."
Dude,
It's
can
just
I just
like,
tell you that I am so sick of hearing about Kundalini anything
yeah,
anymore. It's
yeah.
like the biggest thing going now, and I'm like, dude,
You bring your energy through your crown chakra.
everyone, every, uh, yeah,
So the point is like, okay, you do that, but you're still in material energy. The Vedas describe, and not that we need to belabor this,
yeah,
but the point is, until you understand the principle of the personality of Godhead, you don't know how to serve those energies. Even if you have some like very like high experience, this so-called enlightenment, you don't know what to do with it, and therefore it's very dangerous, right? So you need a guru. Even Kundalini yoga, they stress this, like you need a guru. This is a system to help bring your energy out of gross ignorance, but it's not just for you to play with. So people want to play with the goddess energy, but and the other point is I want to bring up is it's not a gender thing, and hopefully this has been very helpful just to kind of understand kind of objective science. It's not that we're sick of men and we like ladies, so we're going to do the lady path of goddess energy. And I see a lot of old friends even that have really, fallen into this, awaken your inner goddess. It's like, no, you are not a goddess like that. You are marginal potency of God.
I'm just going to tell you right now, if you were a yoga teacher in Rochester, New York, and you were like a trained 200-hour yoga teacher, and you put on your yoga flyer, awaken your inner goddess, you would sell out every single yoga session. It's like the hot thing going right now, just like the Kundalini stuff. It's like, I don't know if it's a political thing. I don't know what it is, but
it's
I
no,
think
it's just a symptom of Kali Yuga, and Krishna is explaining it directly here. People are going to be into this because it gives you easy power. Easy. It's quick to come to your aid. You get this Shakti. You get sexy, and it attracts. But what is it really attracting? Just Durga, misery, ultimately. Mode of passion. It may seem like nectar at first, but then it's misery. Because you're misusing Krishna's energies for sense gratification. Until you know who God is and what God's devotional service is, you're going to be simply entangling yourself in networks of ignorance, which the material bodily senses, they're just networks of ignorance, right? That's what Bhaktivinoda Thakur says in Sharya Vijaya, right? This body is just a network of ignorance leading to death.
I still feel like this is going to be a good time for me to announce that I am going to start an OnlyFans page where I'm just gonna, I can be pretty darn sexy. I think if I tap into this Maya energy, I could be even more. I'm gonna start my OnlyFans.
Do that thing where you whisper into the mic.
Start my OnlyFans. I'm gonna charge $100. I can't.
Oh no.
You just
Somebody help.
that energy, and it can happen for you too.
Oh,
Dude, you could oh my goodness. There's no end to the terrible. You could just take that and run with it and just do like terrible things with that, Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. One of the devotees in Rochester, I heard that they were possessed by an owl.
Okay.
You're supposed to say who.
Nice. Hold on, sir.
Oh man. Yeah. So okay. So all right, we are almost out of time. Let's try to wrap it up here. Is there to encapsulate what we well, like 2 paragraphs we read today. To encapsulate the 2 paragraphs that we read today, Yogamaya is used by Krishna for his will anyway, is what I think our main point of today would be. Yeah.
It's Krishna's power, his energy. And when we get caught up in the energy, in the absence of God, that becomes Mahamaya,
Right.
Also known as Durga.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that energy is potent, very potent. But Krishna,
very strong, but it's always subordinate to Krishna. It's not that Krishna is on equal footing with the devil. It's always subordinate. And if you recognize that subordinate energy will actually kneel to you. Just like Parikshit Maharaj, when the end of his life came, death personified knelt before him, and he put his foot on death's head to step into the airplane to go back to Vaikuntha. It's said that all energies, even liberation, kneels before the devotee with folded hands, asking to be engaged in service. Lakshmi will be very pleased to serve you if you're serving her husband. That's our purpose. That's what it's like in the spiritual world. Everyone is very enthusiastic to cooperate and to help bring everyone else to Krishna, which is our beloved. It's like, again, that's a really nice point. Like the object of service, worship, and love is Krishna. It's not some demanding, jealous patriarch, right? That's not who God is. God is the person that you're trying to love, the transcendental person, right? So we all want to love. Krishna just means that's the object of your love. So if you love Krishna, that means all of the avenues of your heart that are trying to love will be amplified, right? It's not that, no, you have to only love him and you can't love anything else or worship anything. No, that's silly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. We got to wrap it up right now, but this was definitely a very good, one of the more lively shows, I should say. So let's recite the Maha Mantra 3 times and we shall bid adieu for the day. Thank you so much, viewers on YouTube, for checking us out. And we will be back again tomorrow. Okay, yes. Lead us off, Balaram.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Power in the sweet names of the Lord right there. Power in the holy names. All right. Thank you so much for watching us. And we will catch you later, beautiful people. Hare Krishna, Hare Bo.